Coming up on Valley View News, in honor of Cesar Chavez Day, farm workers protested for more union voting rights. Plus, a small business works to help the people of Afghanistan. And the 64th Annual Grammy Awards returned with some normalcy.
Hello and welcome to Valley View News. I'm Elizabeth Campos.
And I'm Ruby Cordova in the Digital Media Center.
A Sacramento shooting left 6 people dead and 12 injured. Police say it happened in downtown Sacramento early Sunday morning as popular bars were closing. Sacramento Police Chief Kathy Lester says she has never seen violence at this scale during her 27 years with the police department. To get local perspectives, Valley View News spoke with CSUN students about their thoughts on gun control policies.
It's heartbreaking, honestly.
Good Samaritan nearby that had a gun on them. That could have been maybe only 5 shots if they were taken down by someone good who had a gun on them. You know, if we have just as many good people who are concealed carrying.
I don't think that anyone can just go and buy a gun. There should be way more laws and regulations.
Sacramento police have arrested one suspect so far, 26-year-old Andre Martin. Sacramento PD charged Martin with assault with a deadly weapon and being a convict carrying a loaded gun.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky pre-recorded a video message for the Grammys. He asked for support with telling the story of Russia's brutal invasion of Ukraine.
On our land, we are fighting Russia, which brings horrible silence with its bombs, the dead silence. Feel the silence with your music. Feel it today to tell our story. Tell the truth about the war on your social networks, on TV. Support us in any way you can, but not silence.
President Zelensky's message served as an intro to John Legend performing his song Free, alongside Ukrainian musicians and a poet.
The city of Los Angeles reached a settlement to address homelessness. It'll provide $3 billion over the next 5 years to develop as many as 16,000 beds or housing units for the homeless. The agreement stipulates that the city find shelter for thousands of people camping on sidewalks or near freeways. The LA Alliance for Human Rights filed a suit which led to the settlement. Some small business owners, residents, unhoused people, and formerly unhoused supported the suit.
People throughout California rallied on Cesar Chavez Day demanding that Governor Gavin Newsom sign the pro-union voting rights bill. Our reporter Natalie Sierra went to the Los Angeles protest.
The late Cesar Chavez's fight for farm workers' rights still continues. For Cesar Chavez Day, Irv Hirschenbaum, the first vice president of the Farm Workers Union, organized a demonstration urging Governor Gavin Newsom to sign Assembly Bill 2183. The measure supports voting rights for farm workers so they can vote at home.
We're trying to ask Governor Newsom to sign a bill that would make it easier for farm workers to express their opinion on whether they want a union, modernizing the voting procedure.
Business groups say the bill could leave farm workers vulnerable to union pressure. The Chamber of Commerce calls it a job killer, but supporters say the bill is needed to keep employers from using scare tactics against farm workers who want to vote for unions. Farm worker FLOR ALDARADO says she wants her rights.
We want Newsom to give us a vote so we can vote in union and vote freely in our homes without supervisors or foremen.
City Council member and Los Angeles mayoral candidate Kevin De Leon joined in solidarity with the farm workers.
These are the women and men who put the food on the table for each and every one of you, and they deserve to have respect and dignity.
Hirschenbaum says that if the bill isn't signed, they plan to march again in the summer. Reporting from Los Angeles for Valley View News, I'm Natalie Sierra.
While LA farm workers want to change the way they can vote for unions, in New York, Amazon workers already voted to unionize. This is the first successful U.S. union to form inside Amazon's operations. 55% of warehouse workers voted in favor of the union. Vice President of Membership Connor Spence spoke of priorities.
Number one on the list is going to be higher pay. The cost of living in New York is way too high. Amazon does not pay a living wage, so that's going to be the first thing that we fight for.
Amazon and the Amazon Labor Union challenged the vote but weren't successful. The results won't be official until they're processed by both parties. Any objections are due by April 8th.
The price of self-serve regular gasoline dropped in Los Angeles. The AAA and Oil Price Information Service says the average price is now $5.99. After a 32-day streak of increases, the price dropped 7.1 cents in the past 7 days. This is the largest decrease in gas prices since April 2020.
Alaska Airlines now has new gender-neutral uniforms for flight attendants. The new uniform policy follows a 2021 complaint by an Alaska Airlines employee. The worker claimed the old uniform policy discriminated against non-binary employees who didn't fit male or female dress codes. The American Civil Liberties Union notified Alaska Airlines that their prior dress code violated Washington's law against gender discrimination. The airline says its new dress code offers more freedom and flexibility for gender expression. Changes also permit personal pronoun pins for employees to wear on their uniforms.
The Navy commissioned a new Virginia-class submarine Saturday. First Lady Jill Biden is one of the sponsors for the USS Delaware.
It's difficult to put into words how much it means to be a part of the USS Delaware family. It's an incredible honor that I take seriously.
Sponsors are named by the Secretary of the Navy and are part of commissioning, decommissioning, and christening. Because of COVID-19, the Delaware was commissioned administratively at sea last year.
A man and a woman were struck by lightning at an MLB spring training game in Tampa, Florida. The lightning hit them in the parking lot of the Raymond James Stadium. The man is in his 60s, the woman in her 20s. Both were hospitalized and are in stable condition. They were attending the New York Yankees versus Atlanta Brave games when the strike occurred around 3:45 p.m.
The House of U.S. Representatives voted 220 to 204 to decriminalize marijuana at the federal level. If eventually passed by the Senate, the bill would remove criminal penalties for cannabis-related offenses. Amendments to the bill approved $10 million for the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration to study technologies that will indicate whether a driver is impaired by marijuana. Some of the money also goes towards additional law enforcement needs.
In San Bernardino County, the Arrowhead Regional Medical Center reported 0 COVID patients for the first time since March 2020. On its Facebook page, the county highlighted the personal sacrifices made by caretakers and hospital staff during the pandemic. It mentioned what it called their resilience and unwavering care for the community. Meanwhile, COVID-19 hospitalizations in LA County also dropped to their lowest point since the start of the pandemic.
The new BA2 COVID-19 variant is now the most dominant strain in the United States. Los Angeles County officials say it accounts for 1/3 of all virus cases screened for variants. Indicators show a downward trend or leveling off in COVID-19 cases, while Omicron variant cases doubled since March 5th. LA County's Public Health Director Barbara Ferrer says there won't be an immediate rise in cases and hospitalizations, but now is a good time to get another booster.
As summer approaches, many farmers markets will be selling their produce again. Our reporter Brenna White reports on one farmers market that has made it through pandemic shutdowns.
Now that California is easing up COVID-19 restrictions, places like the Riverside County Certified Farmers Market are opening. There are plenty of vendors selling goods here. However, some of these small businesses weren't affected by the pandemic. Marilena Arriaga of Arriaga Flowers says during the pandemic, her family farm actually benefited from customers who didn't want to be around crowds of people.
That's when our Instagram picked up, actually. So like a lot of people were doing orders through there and they were just picking it up type of thing.
The pandemic forced many farmers markets to close, but they were back open within weeks. Still, those shutdowns meant these vendors lacked in-person customers. Microgreen farmer Abdurrahimi Amin says the best part of the farmers market is coming out and talking directly to people.
Give you a taste. You like wasabi? Prior to this, I was just dealing with the online aspect, the digital aspect. So you don't have that face-to-face with people.
The farmers market is next to the County of Riverside executive offices. The location helps bring customers in throughout the day for vendors. County worker JENNA PEREZ likes the proximity to her job.
No, it's nice, much nicer to be able to come back down here for like breaks get something to eat, and just walk around and interact with people.
The Certified Farmers Market is open on Wednesdays from 8:30 in the morning until 1:30 in the afternoon. Reporting from Riverside for Valley View News, I'm Brenna White.
More to come on Valley View News, how Shanghai is dealing with its new COVID-19 outbreak, and how a freelance florist is helping out her father's nonprofit in Afghanistan.
Here's to the things that can keep us safe. Those we use all the time with hardly a thought. Those that are silently standing by to save our lives. And now, those that we carry with us everywhere we go. Many mobile devices will now bring you wireless emergency alerts, real-time information directly from local sources you know and trust. With the unique sound and vibration, you'll be in the know, wherever you are.
First, we're going to stop by Studio B with Dominique Silva for some international news.
The bodies of at least 20 people who were apparently executed were found in the streets of Bucha near the Ukrainian capital. The images were shot by Agence France Presse on Saturday. This was the day Ukraine declared the town liberated from Russian troops. The details surrounding the civilian deaths haven't been confirmed. Bucha faced 5 weeks of near constant firefights. Town officials and human rights groups blamed the deaths on departing Russian forces. Ukrainian President Zelensky wants the killings investigated. President Joe Biden called the acts allegedly committed by Russian forces in Bucha a war crime. He's thinking of placing more sanctions on Russia.
We have to continue to provide Ukraine with the weapons they need to continue the fight, and we have to gather all the detail so this can be have a war crime trial.
Graphic images from Bucha and other parts of Ukraine support the idea that Vladimir Putin may have committed war crimes. Images show hundreds of bodies on Ukrainian streets. At least 150 people were accounted for. However, right now, many think there isn't enough evidence to support a war crimes case. The Russian Ministry of Defense claimed that their footage obtained was fake. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says the State Department will document any more attacks made by Russian forces. A landslide killed at least 14 people, including 7 children in southeastern Brazil. Days of heavy rains triggered record flooding, causing the landslide. A father of 7 and his children between the ages of 2 and 17 were killed. Another child was rescued and transported to a hospital. At least 4 other people were rescued with non-life-threatening injuries. More than 22 neighborhoods were flooded. 71 families were displaced. This isn't the first time that this has happened, though. In early February, at least 24 people died and more than 1,500 were displaced after a landslide in the same area. China is deploying thousands of military personnel in Shanghai to give mandatory COVID tests to 25 million residents. The plan requires everyone to be tested next week. Shanghai reported a record 9,000 cases on Sunday. The government is increasing its mandatory lockdowns, testing, and isolation policies. In some cases, because of COVID, children had to be separated from their parents. Their latest outbreak placed Shanghai at the center of China's battle with the virus. The European Union plans to fight pollution caused by mass-marketed fast fashion. The EU wants fast fashion to contain a minimum amount of recycled fibers by 2030. They also want to ban the destruction of unsold fast fashion products. The EU body says it seeks to limit the release of microplastics into the environment while improving global labor conditions in the garment industry. Such changes will bring big shifts in the garment industry in order to keep prices down. Almost 3/4 of all clothing sold in the EU is imported. In addition, the EU also wants many luxury brands to create standards for sustainable fashion. That's all for me in international news. Back to you in the studio, Ruby.
Some people in LA are also trying to cut down on textile waste. Last semester, our reporter Cynthia Puga spoke with one textile crafter who's trying out one unique way to decrease waste from fast fashion.
Fast fashion is one of the biggest contributors to the planet's pollution. An LA textile crafter says she's been dedicated to finding a solution and already has a project in the works.
Trying to introduce mycelium, which is mushroom, basically, to the clothing, and so it's been found like that some kind of mushrooms eat plastic.
El Paso explains how the white mycelium forms from the oyster mushrooms and begins to digest clothes made from nylon, polyester, and synthetic fibers, all of which are considered forms of plastic. Oyster mushrooms are edible. They can be found at grocery stores. CSUN professor and fungi expert David Bermudez says this mushroom is the best type to use for this kind of experiment.
Because the oyster mushroom is in a special category of mushrooms that can degrade things that a lot of other fungi can't.
El Paso says she wants to continue working on projects to find a solution to textile waste. Reporting for Valley View News, I'm Cynthia Puga.
Tesla reported an increase in car sales despite logistic problems, and a shortage of computer chips forced them to scale back production. The company recorded selling 310,000 cars in the first quarter. Sales at other automakers like General Motors took a big hit due to supply chain problems. Tesla told Wedbush Securities that their production and sales output were better than feared.
Alaska Airlines canceled more than 100 flights after pilots held informational pickets or walkouts. The walkouts took place across the U.S. pilots in a 3-year contract negotiation deadlock with the airline. FlightAware, a flight tracking website, shows that Alaska Airlines canceled 15% of its operations, while American Airlines and Southwest Airlines canceled 4% of their flights. Alaska Airlines said in a statement that 12,000 customers were affected by the cancellations. The statement, however, had no mentions of the pilot walkout.
With electric car sales on the rise, Hertz is stocking up on the cars while they still can. Swedish electric car company Polestar agreed to sell 65,000 electric cars to Hertz in the next 5 years. Hertz already bought 100,000 cars from Tesla in October. The company is ordering the Polestar 2, a smaller, more compact car with a range of 270 miles. Hertz will make the Polestars available in Europe this spring. They'll roll out in North America and Australia later this year.
More than 680,000 SUVs are being recalled by General Motors. The Chevrolet Equinox from 2014 to 2015 and the GMC Terrain vehicles could have malfunctioning windshield wipers. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says 1% of cars are subject to this malfunction. The NHTSA says they'll send car owners notices about the recall on May 2nd. Repairs and replacements will be free of charge.
A freelance florist from Los Angeles is raising funds through her side business, Flowers and Resistance, to help aid people in Afghanistan. Valley View News reporter Vanessa Garcia explains.
At the downtown Los Angeles flower market, freelance florist Farah Wallahi begins her mornings buying flowers for her side business called Flowers and Resistance. Wallahi started making flower arrangements to support her father's nonprofit. The hand-to-hand Sadaka group sends all donated money to aid people in Afghanistan. Wallahi donates 50% of her flower proceeds to the nonprofit. She says her Afghan heritage inspires her floral designs.
I like to go for anything that even looks remotely Middle Eastern. Tulips are the national flower of Afghanistan, so I always try to incorporate one or two if I can.
Wallahi says donations from her business and the nonprofit help volunteers with the support they need.
Everything is important. Medical assistance, groceries, shelter, blankets, food, the building of water wells, encouragement of literacy, of building of schools, like all of that is going through the nonprofit.
Wallahi says she considers herself an activist, but a humanitarian above all.
I want people to be able to separate politics and activism from just being a good human being.
Wallahi's father's nonprofit Hand-to-Hand Sadaka group can be found online for more information. Reporting from Los Angeles for Valley View News, I'm Vanessa Garcia.
When we come back, we'll hear about the Grammy winners. Also, Tiger Woods might not compete in the 2022 Masters. Stay with us.
The Grammys were last Sunday. Olivia Rodrigo took home Grammys for Best New Artist and Best Pop Vocal Album. Silk Sonic duo of Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak won 4 awards for Best R&B Performance, Best R&B Song, Best Record, and Song of the Year. Jon Batiste won 5 Grammys, including Best American Roots Performance, Best American Roots Song, Best Score Soundtrack, Best Music Video, and Album of the Year. The show had a theme recognizing the work of less visible workers in the music industry, particularly women who work behind the scenes.
Tiger Woods said he's not sure if he'll compete in the 2022 Masters. The 15-time major winner suffered leg injuries from a car crash in February 2021. He hasn't played an official tournament since the 2020 Masters. Woods' only appearance since the crash was in December 2021 at the PNC Championships at the Ritz-Carlton Golf Club in Orlando, where Woods and his son finished second.
Actress Estelle Harris died Saturday at the age of 93 in Palm Desert. She was best known for her role as George Costanza's mother in the sitcom Seinfeld. After 9 seasons of Seinfeld, Harris went on for other screen performances. She voiced Mrs. Potato Head in Toy Story 2 and played the reoccurring role of Muriel in Disney Channel sitcom The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. She's survived by 3 children, 3 grandsons, and a great-grandson.
The Los Angeles Lakers' chances of making the playoffs are slim. This follows their loss against the Dallas Mavericks with a score of 128-110. The Lakers dropped to 11th place in the Western Conference. LeBron James and Anthony Davis sat on the injured list while the team trailed the Mavericks by halftime by 26 points. The poor record comes just 2 years after the Lakers won the World Championship against Miami Heat.
Bixby Park hosts its first celebration for trans and gender-expansive lives on Transgender Day of Visibility. The LGBTQ Center of Long Beach hosted the event. Most booths were there for health services. The nonprofit organization AHF Pharmacy Health provided services for everyone, but targets the LGBTQ community.
This event is very important, especially nowadays. We're trying to get more trans visibility, and also for us to see what resources there are out there for that community.
The event included many performances which couldn't be filmed for privacy reasons.
CSUN's Pride Center showed support for transgender awareness during Transgender Awareness Week last November. The center hosted various events, including an art show. Valley View's Alexia Mersola was there.
CSUN's Pride Center held Trans Empowerment Week last week as part of National Trans Awareness Week, which helps raise the visibility of transgender people and the issues they face. Jay Hitomi, the Pride Center's interim supervisor, helped organize CSUN's events.
When we were coming up with this event for the CSUN Pride Center, though, we felt that trans awareness wasn't enough. We wanted to create an event that really served our trans students and made them feel centered, empowered.
There were events all week, but the most anticipated activity was the Transcendence Art Show. It featured work from the trans community. Whitney Workman is the acting coordinator for CSUN's Pride Center.
The art show came about from our team wanting to specifically show the art of trans artists and celebrate their life and work.
Although the week is recognized nationally, Jay says it was renamed to focus on the students at CSUN.
We renamed ours Trans Empowerment Week to really center those trans experiences and give them and provide resources that they can use.
Pride Center says Trans Empowerment Week and events like it are put in place to bring the school together and spread awareness about transgender people, not only on campus, but around the world. Reporting for Valley View News, I'm Alexia Mersola.
There will be a new requirement for NFL teams during the 2022 season. All teams must hire a female or minority offensive assistant coach. Plus, the Rooney Rule will expand. For head coaching positions, the Rooney Rule required each team to interview at least 2 external minority candidates. Now, it'll expand to allow more chances for women to land office positions. The league also created a diversity advisory committee with 6 members to review the hiring policies and practices. This comes after intense criticism of the NFL over the lack of diversity in the higher ranks.
Things in Hollywood are still tense after the unfortunate slap Will Smith leveled on Chris Rock at the Oscars. Polling shows that half of the public stood with Smith, saying he acted to protect his wife, Jada. Even though Smith has the public support, he's resigned from the Academy. There are proceedings planned that could lead Smith to being permanently banned from the Academy.
The U.S. men's national team qualified for the 2022 FIFA World Cup. The top 3 teams in CONCACAF automatically qualify. The U.S. gained its spot despite losing to Costa Rica 2-0. The FIFA 2022 draw grouped the U.S. with England and Iran. Their third opponent is yet to be made official, but it's between Wales, Ukraine, or Scotland. The World Cup will be in Qatar starting in November. It'll be the U.S.'s first World Cup appearance since 2014.
One bookstore owner created a space to sell books that specifically revolve around underrepresented communities. Valley View's Celine Stevens stopped by the shop to learn more.
There's a new type of business in the city of Inglewood. The Salt Eaters Bookshop is owned by Asha Grant. Her bookstore features stories centering on Black women, femmes, and the non-binary community.
It's really important to me to have characters and authors that represent those identities in every single genre.
Some of the books focus on serious topics and issues, but Grant says she also wants to leave space for stories that don't center on Black trauma.
Every book in here isn't like an anti-racist text per se. Like, it's a space where I feel like we all can just kind of exist in ourselves.
Tatiana Moore is here for the first time. She thinks a shop like this is needed in a predominantly Black and brown community like Inglewood.
Just as a Black girl growing up now with the vocabulary that I have, people are always surprised, and I'm like, wow, I used to just read books, you know, that was just my thing, but I realized not every Black kid has that experience.
Grant says one reason her bookshop stands out when compared to chains like Barnes & Noble is because all year she displays books about underrepresented communities.
The books that are featured here are not like an afterthought, and they're not like attached to you know, whatever hot month it is.
The Salt Eaters Bookshop is currently open Thursdays, Fridays, and weekends for anyone to come by and check out the shop and maybe even pick up a book of their own. Reporting from Inglewood for Valley View News, I'm Celine Stevens.
That's all for us at Valley View News. I'm Ruby Cordova.
And I'm Elizabeth Campos. For stories any time of the day, go to our website, csunvalleyview.edu. Thanks for watching.